Hearthwarming Evil by tortfeasor. Chapter 12. The Price of Failure. Twice Sparkle flipped back and forth between the pages of Clover's journal. It wasn't. It couldn't be. No way, no how. Yet there seemed to be no other explanation. Sarswell the Bearded had recorded the last entry in the journal. In a way, it made sense. The details of Clover and Princess Platinum's assassinations had always been murky. That in turn gave rise to any number of conspiracy theories about who had done it and why. Tawny Sparkle was actually somewhat surprised, not at all unpleasantly though, that Lyra hadn't expounded at length her opinions during their lengthy trip to Pineville. Sadly, even Starswell himself didn't seem to be exactly sure who had been behind that. The only details he uncovered that Twilight didn't recall from her history books had been the knowledge that the assassins themselves had merely been hired hit ponies. Twilight couldn't help wondering if that was due to a good cover-up by the ponies behind it, or simply Starswell being old. She couldn't be exactly sure, but if he had still been alive when the student was assassinated, Starswell would have been giving Granny Smith a run for her money in the longevity department. Old or not, if his journal was to be believed, Starswell the Bearded had gone on to quite the rampage, learning that Clover the Clever had been assassinated. Twilight dearly wanted to find a history book and start trying to corroborate Starswell's story, but that wasn't the most important thing he left. Clover the Clever had gotten through the vast majority of her spells and notes, but the last little bit hadn't been written. Twilight had, in the process of trying to fill in the gap, come to rather obvious conclusion that climbing a mountain wasn't the ideal time to complete the most complex spell ever conceived. Starswell the Bearded, if he really was to be believed, had filled in the last pieces of the puzzle. Twilight wasn't the only one with doubts. I don't know, Applejack shook her head. All this fancy mathematics is way over my head. I'm just saying that it's my convenient that some highfalutin unicorn legend comes along and drops the answer to all your problems right in your lap. She's right, Rainbow Dash said. Summer does this thing of all the time. Points a point he doesn't like in a direction, only for it to be in the wrong direction, and they wind up dead in one of his traps. It would be the easiest thing in the world for him to have just carried a one where he shouldn't have, and bam! We wind up in one of Lyra's fairy tales while he's running the place around here. That kind of math, Rainbow Dash, Twilight chuckled and shook her head. But no. If Sombra actually had access to Clover and Platinum's journals, he would have just destroyed them. The spell was the result of more than a decade of work by Clover the Clever. Without Clover's work to show me the way, we had a serious chance to pull this off. Sombra's a lot of things, none of them good. But stupid isn't anywhere on that list. Besides, without Clover's journal, I don't think I would have ever come up with something as crazy as stealing Wendigos in the first place. Maybe you should get a second opinion. Pinkie Pie, Twilight didn't know where Pinkie Pie had gotten that magnifying glass he was looking at the journal through.
Mama always got a second opinion about a lot of stuff I said. It worked out alright.
Sorry, darlings, Randy apologized, but I'm the only one here besides Twilight with any magical training whatsoever. I'm just looking at Clover's notes about the mere concept of this spell, having me remembering things for school I'd long thought forgotten. The spell itself might as well be in high zebra for all I can understand. I can understand it. Twilight pulled a sizable ream of paper on which she checked Clover's work, more or less by duplicating it. I don't want to sound arrogant, but I might be the only unicorn alive besides Sombra who can understand this spell. Everything Clover the Clever wrote down has worked, in theory. From what I've read for Starswell's Spirit's entry, it's tracking more or less what I sketched out, once I realized Clover hadn't constructed the whole spell in her journal. Just because he might have been pushing really old, doesn't mean Starswell was any less smart than he had always been. Elzac, you still trust Granny Smith to figure things out, even when she's pushing really old, right? Yeah, Applejack said, after sighing defeat. But that ain't the point here. Twilight, we only get one chance at this. You said so yourself. And it does seem a mite too good to be true that all the answers would be there in that here book of yours. Twilight sighed. Clover the Clever triple-checked her work, and then quadruple-checked it. You should see the number of calculations that are sketched out and redone in here. I'm willing to bet that when Starswell the Bearded added his part, he went back over her work. His own contribution has a number of corrections. And I'll go over their work with a fine-tooth comb and triple-checking it all over again. What I'm saying is that a lot of work by a lot of smart ponies has gone into the spell. And even if this doesn't work, it'll either be because it's impossible or I screwed up the casting. It's not going to fail because there's a mistake in the theoretical spell work. Fluttershy opened her mouth to say something, but before she could speak, Twilight felt a tingle of magic in her horn, and the world vanished. Twilight stumbled and was rudely shoved in by what felt like a tree branch for her trouble. She then turned out to find out just who had done something rude, only to tumble to the ground as her hose tangled in manacles and chains she somehow acquired. Falling to the ground brought something hard, the tree branch again, into her temple and a very rude shout.
Get up, you worthless filth! No one's gonna stand a tear if I spill your cat tear now, so you wanna keep breathing. Get moving!
Twilight finally got a look at her tormentor. It was a unicorn she had never seen in her life, and it was wearing armor so full of villainous cliches that the fastest faux pas would probably give Rarity a heart attack. She wasn't too far off in thinking she had been hit with a tree branch. It was, instead, a wooden spear shaft that had been beating on her. Then she saw the sky. Twilight had seen any number of rolling storm clouds in her years of living in Platinum City, but nothing like this. They were a reddish gray that no natural storm had ever brought forth, and it looked as if there was no rain or snow in those clouds. There were no natural clouds, yet Twilight couldn't see any Pegasi working on them. So what was responsible for this? Oh, shoot, it's the cloud cover, isn't it? Her thoughts were rudely interrupted by a spear point taking up her whole vision. One look at the unicorn made Twilight realize he wouldn't just kill her, he would enjoy every minute of it. She scrambled back to her host, a process not made any easier by being chained, and kept walking towards somewhere. As she shuffled ahead, Twilight took the opportunity to once more examine her surroundings. She was in a city. It almost looked like Platinum City, but there was no way this could be the case. All the buildings were made out of some sort of black crystal that seemed to dim what little sun made it through the blanket of clouds. The architecture was all wrong. Platinum City had never been full of buildings that would be termed in fighting, not in the way Ponyville was, but the buildings in this city were downright impressive. None of this was right. Twilight struggled to remember what she had been doing. Something about a mountain and other ponies and a book. And far from some memories, but just as fast as they came, they vanished in the gloom of her situation. Twilight's first clue that she was nearing her destination was the distant roar of a multitude of ponies cheering. What they might be cheering, she had no clue, but Twilight didn't think for a moment it would entail anything resembling a reversal of her circumstances. The sight of a large razor wire fence brought another surge of memory that struggled in vain to take root, and it brought a sense of outrage that stayed with her as she dragged her hose along the street. Through the gaps in the wire, Twilight could see the emaciated hose sticking through. Whoever the ponies in there were, they were starving and desperate for food. At last, Twilight stumbled onto a broad avenue that led to a massive coliseum. She could tell in an instant that this was the source of a roaring cheer she had been hearing. Thinking back to the razor wire fence, Twilight had the sudden sense that she really didn't want to know what the ponies in the area were cheering about. A none too gentle poke from the front of the spear, however, made Twilight think she was going to find out what they were cheering about, whether or not she wanted to. Twilight was led through the small side entrance, through a maze of dark corridors, before emerging onto a platform with plush curtains. If the crowd had been loud outside the arena, they were almost deafening inside. Down on the dirt floor, she saw two Earth ponies circling each other. They were skinny enough that she wondered how they were standing at all. By the desperate looks on their faces, Twilight didn't think she would have much trouble guessing they had been plucked from. Twilight looked towards the cushions to see Blue Blood lounging in the center. He was surrounded by a flock of mares that Twilight was quite certain they had been paid handsomely to be there, more than likely paid to entertain Blue Blood in a more personal manner afterwards. Seeing the white unicorn with that insipid blonde mane brought forth another surge of outrage, it deepening the feeling that something wasn't right here. I'm bold, Blue Blood languidly said to a Pegasus Twilight only belatedly realized to be lightning dust. Kill them both! I'm sure His Majesty is eager to get on with the main event. Lightning Dust barked several orders onto the edge of the platform. Twilight couldn't hear what she had said, but when the Pegasi surrounding the arena floor raised their eyebrows and loosed into the arena, Twilight decided she had a pretty good guess of what Lightning Dust had been shouting. As the two starter ponies dropped in a pool of blood, The crowd let loose a deep cheer that put all their previous efforts to shame. These spectators had come here with a deep bloodlust towards their fellow ponies. Seeing it satisfied was pulling at their darkest heartstrings. The sound of approaching hostos made Twilight turn as much as her restraints would allow, which wasn't much.
Hi, Twilight!
Pinkie Pie was somehow managing to bounce along, despite being teased by Twilight. Behind Pinkie Pie, Twilight could see her other friends being forced along as well.
Isn't this just the silliest thing you've ever seen?
Silly? Twilight looked back to the arena floor to see armored ponies, forcing yet more starved and abused-starved ponies into the open. What on earth could be silly about this?
Trying everything!
Pinkie Pie rolled her eyes as the unicorns out of the arena floor began to channel magic.
I mean, come on! We were just on that mountain. There's no way Meaning Pit Software could build something like this in a few weeks. He's totally just messing with us, like the time in the swamps.
Twilight struggled to hold on to the flood of memories that brought forth. She could see looks of intense concentration on others' faces as well. Clearly, Pinkie's words were striking a chord with them, too.
And seriously?
Pinkie Pie started to laugh.
Have you seen this place? It's like everything you've ever read in a bad horror story. Not that I ever learned to read much. I never thought I'd put in the inventory reports that delivery orders are very good tasting materials. Oh, I'm going off topic. Girls, we're still totally back on that mountain, and we're probably getting a little tilly-willy if we are climbing. So, the faster you realize how silly this is, the faster we can get going again.
Pinkie, don't ever stop being optimistic, hopeful, heartwarming, and caring. Just don't stop. Terrified screams of pain were exactly on Twilight's list of funny things. Pinkie Pie, however, found it to be the most hilarious thing in the world, or at least in this world. Twilight looked at the earth ponies writhing in their death agony on the floor, listened to the terrible baying of the crowd. It occurred to her that Pinkie Pie was right. She had such a large blanket of memories between the last things she could remember and being there was no way it could be real. It felt wrong to giggle at such depressing surroundings, but once she started, Twilight found it to be quite infectious. The final nail in the coffin was her surly escort, completely ignoring the 6 ponies rolling on the ground laughing so hard it was painful. The world dissolved once more to white as Twilight let loose a deep bellow laugh. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is why Pinkie Pie won the recent death battle. Okay, actually, it was a tie. And it was awesome. And one of the many reasons why I love her. Finally, after a full week after Sunset Shimmer tried to destroy the town, Lyra could look out the castle without seeing smoke rising from the ruins. Sunset Shimmer hadn't succeeded at killing Lyra or Bonbon, or destroying Ponyville for that matter, but she came dangerously close to completing both goals. Most of the damage had been in the outer part of Ponyville, where the majority of Earth ponies made their homes. Part of that was because it was the first part of Ponyville that Sunset Shimmer and her minions had reached. Part of it was because Sunset and her minions were proud to do their part in the noble quest of restoring the foul, listed pony Earth ponies. At least the ponies they captured at the doctor's shop had smugly bragged about their activities to that effect. And they proudly boasted of their desire to kill Lyra and Bonbon for their unnatural and traitorous relationship. Lyra wished she could say that last part didn't bother her. She was probably used to holding unpopular opinions that got her laughed at. But no one had ever tried to kill her because she believed in humans, heartless they call humans. She always known that precious little good could ever come from anyone finding out about her and Bonbon. But never in her wildest nightmares had Lyra thought that she and Bonbon would wind up in the center of a civil war that threatened the extinction of pony kind. Looking to see if Lyra, Pinkie Pie, and the others are back. Lyra hadn't heard Bonbon come up behind her. They only left a week ago. If they're lucky, they're near the far edge of the Everfree Forest. No. Lyra shook her head and moved away from the window. I was just thinking that you can't see the smoke from the ruins anymore. Now I guess they could get started with pulling all the bodies out, counting the dead. 400. They turned to see Shining Armor poking his head through the door. I'm not sure we'll ever get an exact count. Some ponies were simply vaporized, and others are so smashed up by the wreckage I don't think we'll ever get them out. Our guess is that such a similar attackers managed to kill about 400 ponies. The biggest death toll was from the old library. Most of the rest came from the first few minutes of the attack before the locals started to fight back.
400 ponies? Lyra whispered. 400 ponies dead because of us?
Not because of you, Shining Armor said. Sunset Simmer would have made a place like a library a target, just because there were so many ponies there. Getting you two was just a bonus for her. It's a shame with all the other ponies she's killed. She hates Earth ponies, and she hates this town for taking them in. Now come on. They're serving lunch. Lyra and Bonbon followed with their heads low. They'd both been shaking for the last week with the knowledge of just how passionately Somber wanted them dead. Finding out how many ponies he was willing to kill in his pursuit of them had hardly improved matters. Okay, stop. Shining Armor put a hoof to them at the door, to the hall where the lunch was being served. I can't take you two being all mopey for one more minute, and neither can your friends. You see that filly over there? He pointed to an orange Pegasus with a purple mane. Her name's Scootaloo.
Yes! Finally! Cutie Mark Sayer number 3!
She was born with a rare basical defect that means she'll never fly. Both her parents were killed in the attack while they were trying to get other ponies to safety. I get it you've had a rough couple of weeks, but Scootaloo has had it a lot tougher. You've got friends who are willing to be there if you let them, and there are a lot of scared Earth ponies who need your help. Shining Armor let his point speak for itself. We tried to the lunch hall without saying another word. Lyra and Bonbon looked at each other and sighed. They've gone through plenty of rough spots before. None is quite as tough as this.
I think we should get going. If we hide from too many more meals, Vilescrass is going to tie us up and drag us out.
Lyra knew just how serious Bonbon was being. They quickly discovered that their new friend had almost a pea pie-like obsession with making other ponies happy. To the surprise of neither of them, Vile perked up when they walked in and started evidently waving them over.
It's good to see you two up and about again,
Octavia said. The cell has somehow managed to make her simple meals seem as classy as the finest Platinum City parties.
If you had stayed here much longer, I think Fido was going to form a search party.
Lyra looked over to see Bonbon sporting a fairly visible smirk.
Seriously?
Bonbon said, a mouthful of food.
You two looked sour to the last time I saw someone drop a muffin in front of Derpy. Then nothing ever did anything to him.
Derpy had clearly never forgotten the incident.
I never ranked mine sounds away at Wrestling-Faced Blueberry Muffin. I don't think he ever figured out why his mail went to the wrong address for the next 6 months.
I think what Miss Hose is trying to say, the doctor cleared his throat, so we're all aware that you're having some difficulties. And if you need a friendly shoulder to lean on, we're all quite willing to provide one.
Quite.
Octavia primly agreed.
I think I speak for all of us when I say we're here for you.
See? Lyra didn't need to look at Bonbon to see the smug look on her face.
Tells you moving to Pineville would be a good idea.
Twilight wasn't sure she escaped the trap for the first few seconds. The world was she to return to was the same saturated white as her escape from the previous one she had been. It was only when the sound of the wind and piercing chill of the cold that hit, she realized she was back in the real world, in the middle of a blizzard. How long had they been stuck in Sombra's trap? Even so close to the windows of his cave as they were, a storm like this would have easily taken a few hours to brew up and move in. Twilight fumbled around in her coat pockets before pulling out the bone eye protection her brother had given them. And doing good this, she was going to owe him a thanks. Next on Twilight's list was to make sure she still had all her limbs firmly attached. Moving her legs produced enough sensation to let her know that while cold, she wasn't suffering from frostbite yet. Moving her legs, however, nearly caused her backbend to come off as it had loosened while she had been twisting about under the influence of Sombra's spell.
Girls! Anyone!
Twilight shouted as she straightened the traps of her backpack. She clearly moved whilst inside the trap. Who knows for how long they might have gone in their own personal agonies. A narrow slit cut through the piece of bone. Twilight carefully didn't think about where the bone had come from. Let her see in the snow without blinking what felt like 20 times a second or so. However, the narrow slit didn't allow her to see all that much, so it's a very real possibility that she might have wandered past one of her friends. Twilight started sending out a number of magical flares instead. With luck,
They would go by her friends and allow them to follow the trail of flares back to her. It was only a few minutes before she saw something moving in the edge of her vision. Moments later, all 5 of her friends emerged into her view. Apparently, Twilight had been the one to go awry to her all in her own personal Tartarus. Twilight! Rainbow Dash struggled to try to fly toward her in the storm. Twilight noticed that Rainbow Dash was also using Shining Armor's eye protection. Thank goodness! We thought you rolled off a cliff or something. Sorry. Twilight smiled under her closed-up hood. I'm not that easy to get rid of. Did everyone else come through okay? We need to find somewhere to hunker down and wait out this storm. More or less. Rainbow Dash landed awkwardly in the snow. Applejack lost her coat, though, and Rarity gave hers. I tried to talk her out of it, but you know how she gets when she's bound and determined to be generous. Then I tried to give her my coat, explaining that pagans deal with cold better than unicorns, but, well, same story. Rarity's using some sort of magic to not freeze, but I don't know how long she can keep it up. Twilight muttered several curses she heard her brother use after Masquerade's attempt to poison them. Come on, let's get back to them, and then set us a chance to get out this freezing wind. Then we can figure out what to do about having only 5 coats for 6 ponies. Despite being able to see the others the whole way, Twilight and Rainbow Dash still almost got several times in near-zero visibility in the storm. Thankfully, someone, Twilight suspected Applejack, had the good sense to start setting up tents in a small depression in the snow, immediately once they were reunited. Twilight, darling, how good to see you. Rarity chattered to the lips, starting to turn blue as the eyes behind her own protector. We were all so worried that we couldn't find you lying near the rest of us. Twilight wasted no time in casting her own warming charm. Having far more power than Rarity to use, Twilight was able to cast a vastly more potent spell. Rarity, what were you thinking? Twilight practically shoved Rarity out of complete intent. Unicorns deal with harsh conditions the worst out of all 3 tribes. Did it ever occur to you that you could keep Applejack warm by keeping warm yourself and casting a more powerful warming charm? I know you want to be generous and help every pony you see, but you have to learn that taking care of yourself will leave you with a lot more to give to other ponies. It all worked out in the end, Rarity said, still distressingly blue. Tomorrow, or whenever this storm clears, we can take turns casting a warming charm and I'll be fine. Besides, once we sealed up those nasty windy gales for good, I think we'll hardly need coats at all on the way back to Ponyville. Twilight fixed Rarity with her sternest glare. We'll take turns casting that warming charm tomorrow. We'll be casting it on Rainbow Dash. She's a Pegasus for crying out loud. She can take the cold weather better than you could ever hope to. Not to mention that she's the guard, and she's trained for this sort of stuff. Before Rarity could retort, Pinkie Pie burst into the tent and defended herself for her backpack. Brrr, it's getting pretty nasty out there, and we didn't feel like setting up a 3rd tent. So, if it's okie dokie with you 2, I'm not staying here tonight.
Make yourself comfortable, Twilight said. Rarity needs all the warmth she can get, so another pony is just what the doctor ordered. By the way, Pinkie Pie, that was amazing getting us out of that spell like you did. We probably would have frozen to death in this storm if you hadn't been there.
Oh, it was no big deal.
Pinkie Pie giggled as she striked off her coat.
Like I said, it was just all so silly there. I didn't take it seriously for a second. Besides that, even if it was real, I wouldn't want to spend it my last minutes crying and being sad. I'd rather much more enjoy them and be as happy as I could, especially if I'm with my friends.
Twilight smiled as she pulled out blankets to wrap Rarity beneath. It had been a long shot that it could come close enough on this trip, and has to be able to use Clover's spell. But maybe, just maybe, they could pull it off. Twilight woke the next morning, put to a silence so complete it was almost deafening. She slowly unlatched the tent cover and pulled her head out, and immediately shot her head back in with a wince. The storm had blown itself out overnight, and the naked sun on all that snow was unbearably bright. A second trip outside the tent with eye protection was much better. The clear, cold glare gave Twilight an excellent opportunity to figure out exactly where they were and where they needed to go.
Hi, Twilight.
Twilight almost took flight as Firesight stuck up on her. Firesight's productivity for quiet could sometimes border an almost terrifying town for stealth.
Is everyone all right in your tent? I took a few basic first aid courses as a guard, but I'm not very good at it.
I'm sure you make a great medic. Twilight, for once, didn't feel like she had to say anything particularly special to say what needed to be saying to let Fireside
naturally sagging spirits. But we're all fine. In fact, I think we're all better than fine. Twilight pointed to a peak not all far away from where they camped. I'm not entirely sure, but I think that's the mountain we need to climb to find a cave where Clover the Clever sealed the Wendigos.